Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Bill C-2, the Strong Borders Act, was introduced in June 2025 by the Public Safety Minister, framed as legislation to strengthen border security, fight fentanyl trafficking, and address U.S. irritants. This 140-page omnibus bill makes sweeping changes across more than 11 existing acts and proposes a new framework for digital surveillance of Canadians. Many aspects of the bill have little or nothing to do with border security. The government is seeking unrelated powers that have been unsuccessfully attempted to obtain in the past that present significant threats to human rights and civil liberties. Bill C-2 is not about safety. It is about normalizing surveillance, criminalizing migration, bypassing Parliament and public debate. It's about an attack on your privacy and charter rights. It undermines due process, and it is a power grab. The Liberal government's new Strong Borders Act is one of the most serious threats to Canadians' civil liberties we have seen in years. It makes Stephen Harper's infamous Bill C-51 tame by comparison. Framed as a national security measure, this legislation gives sweeping new powers to police and intelligence agencies, powers that override long-standing privacy protections and skirt judicial oversight. At the heart of Bill C-2 is a deeply troubling expansion of warrantless surveillance. Under the proposed law, the RCMP ceases and even undefined, quote, public officers would be able to demand personal information from a wide range of service providers without ever going before a judge. This includes your doctor, your bank, your landlord, your school, even your psychiatrist, and the list can go on. So let that sink in for 1 minute. Government agencies could make information demands for when and how long you have access service from a provider, an associate provider related to that service. This, of course, means they will know where the provider is located and the timeline, how often and for how long have you seek service from that very provider. Under this bill, the government can access online activity that you're engaged in without having to justify it to a court. These kinds of unchecked powers are ripe for abuse, and historically, we know who pays the highest price. When government starts cutting corners on civil liberties, it's often racialized, low-income, marginalized communities that bear the brunt. But they won't be the only ones. We all would be under this kind of scrutiny. Even more alarming, Bill C-2 opens the door to increase information sharing with foreign governments, including the United States. Ottawa is currently in talks to join the U.S. Cloud Act, the Clarifying Lawful Overseas Use of Data Act, which would allow the U.S. law enforcement to access Canadian data stored on servers abroad. That could include deeply personal records, such as whether someone accessed abortion services. In a post-Roe America where abortion is criminalized in several states and reproductive health is under surveillance, this is profoundly dangerous. In a Trump era where the LGBTQ2+ IA community are under attack, this is extremely dangerous. Canadians should never have to worry that their personal medical decisions might be exposed to another country's government. And yet, this bill makes that possibility very real. Matt Hatfield of Open Media critiqued Bill C-2 for having, quote, an astonishing scope of who can receive data demands without a warrant that is unprecedented in Canada. And he is right. We have never seen anything quite like this in Canada being pushed through. It is alarming. It is American-style surveillance creeping north of the border. And Canadians were warned about this during the last election. Did the Prime Minister, during the election, tell any Canadians that this is what he's going to do? No. And all of this is to appease Trump. Groups like the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, BC Civil Liberties Association, the International Civil Liberties Monitoring Group are sounding the alarm. And they're rightly pointing out that Bill C-2 threatens charter-protected rights to privacy and freedom from unreasonable search and seizure. These are not abstract concerns. These are rights that go to the heart of a free and democratic society. If the Prime Minister and the Public Safety Minister are serious about protecting those rights, they must scrap this bill and send it back to the drawing board. It should not be brought forward as an omnibus bill. If they want to address border safety, bring forward a bill that addresses border safety. If they want to address fentanyl trafficking, bring forward a bill that addresses fentanyl trafficking. Not lump it into a 140-page bill and sneak in provisions that turns Canada into a surveillance state. Of course, we all want safety. Communities want safety, and we want secure borders. But we have already existing legal tools like warrants and court orders that respects civil liberties and that lets law enforcement do their jobs while still protecting civil liberties. Stripping away judicial oversight is not the answer, and that's not how we do things in a democracy. The Public Safety Minister, in an op-ed about refugees and asylum seekers in 2016, he wrote, and I quote, "Our country will never be the same again, and collectively our doors should always be open, not just to those who come to our shores, but those taking extraordinary risks to cross other shores in search of refuge. We must understand that people in normal circumstances do not risk their lives and the lives of their families to flee for reasons such as economic stability. They do so out of desperation and as a last resort." Now, as minister, he's putting up walls and barriers through this legislation. And yes, refugees and those who need safety are under attack under this bill. Bill C-2 denies hearings to refugees entirely from the United States, blocks applications from those in Canada over a year, ignores risks of persecution for torture or even death. It echoes Trump's asylum policies, which I might add, over 150 Canadians are now in ICE detention right now. And what is this government doing? Nothing. We have heard nothing about what the government is doing with Canadians that are held in ICE detention in the United States. Bill C-2 isn't about border security. It is about expanding government surveillance. It threatens to chill freedoms of expression, erode trust in doctors and service providers, and normalizes the sharing of personal information with foreign powers. Canadians deserve better. We can't allow democratic norms in Canada become roadkill under pressure from an increasingly authoritarian and unhinged American president. This is not the Canada that I know. This is not the Canada that I think Canadians voted for, Madam Speaker. I hope and I call on every member of this House to vote against this bill and send the government back to the drawing board. Thank you.